Once again, welcome to our um, today's episode, Marriage and Psychology. Believing that some of you who are not seasonal, rather they are more part of the walk to walk and talk the talk, are really engaging, not necessarily directly, but engaging in your own way by listening and by watching. I want to celebrate you. If you're married, I celebrate you. If you're 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years in marriage, I celebrate your years of understanding, your years of being together, your years of struggles, your years of angry at each other, and your years of enduring, and overlooking some of the things that could have separated you, could have put divorce to be your final option. I want to believe that, you know, because you know what you are looking for, because you know what your goal is in life, because you know exactly what are your expectations. And of course, your expectations sometimes are not necessarily met, are not necessarily accomplished. So, and that's why as we work together and consider those, you know, part of or areas in our marriages, sometimes, you just see reality and you have nothing to do about it. Sometimes it comes as a surprise. Why is my wife? Why should she do this? Or why is my husband? Why should he do that? I want to believe it's probably your wife is living just being who she is, and your husband is just being who he is. Only that common ground, that thin line that is supposed to be really something that and I mean each one of you could cross. You guys are not allowing um, yourselves to kind of be that way. And so last week, because we look at um, the realistic, expectation. These are expectations that, I mean, on a normal circumstances, they would come, or they are what each one of us is expecting. Example, we talked about commitment. Uh, is he committed to this marriage? Is she committed to this marriage? So that's what each one of us is trying to look at it. And of course, verbal affection. Sometimes, of course, we struggle with that based on culture, like I said. We struggle to say I love you, we struggle to say honey, or whatever pet name we want to give to ourselves. And are you compassionate? Do you show empathy? to each other? Are you considerate? Looking at each other's differences. Do you really look at that? And more that we have talked about. And I promise that today I would be talking about those unmet expectations. What do we do with them? What happens? Now, is it enough for us to say because of that, we are not compatible? Because that's the word. The word is we are not compatible. And I remember, and if you have time, you can go watch on, I think, Netflix or on Right Now Media, or check on YouTube, The Crazy Cycle of Marriage. The Crazy Cycle of Marriage by, I think, someone called Emerson or Emerson. So he has really written a wonderful book. And of course, you can either listen or watch or read the book, The Crazy Cycle of Marriage. You know, uh, she doesn't respect me. She doesn't honor me. So how can I love her? Or he doesn't love me. How can I respect him? How can I honor him? So, but that's the cycle. You know, this one is expecting this one to do this. The other person is expecting this person. So this one is waiting until this one does this, then I can do that. Until so that's the question. So it all amounts to those expectations that that could lead someone to do what the other person want to be done. So, but because we know that there are realistic, there are moments in our marriages that definitely we expect this to happen, but it's not happening. So, what do we do? So, and definitely, um, should we just part ways? Should we part ways? Because I know many marriages have suffered. And today they are no more. Those marriages are dead. They are dead because of unmet expectations. Like I said, it could be sex. It could be, some kind of materialistic thing. It could be some kind of emotional, weird or emotional, kind of a stressed, all of this could be that. And that led to that marriage that is dead completely. That marriage wouldn't have died. That marriage would have been thriving, but unfortunately, is no more. Is no more. Until today, like right now, I have three, I think three cases before me that I've been, handling. All, all of this is marriage cases. Apart from, clients that I see every day, people who are dealing with one emotional stress or another, but I have four, different, marriage cases that I'm dealing with. And guess what? All of them, all of them is as a result of unmet expectations. All of them, all of them. None of them is as a result of probably, he is ugly, he is this, but because there has been something that the other person has been expecting, but after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3 years, is not there. And now it results to emotional stress. So they could not in any way still bear the situation and kind of say, you know what, I will give it a time to pray. I will give it a time to, check and see, read books probably, or ask questions. But because this is how I feel, so I don't think if it's going to be working. I'm not sure. After all these years that I've waited, I talked about it. He knows it. He understands. That's what we say. Oh, she knows what she's doing. He knows what he is doing. Oh, you're right. That's true. But as long as the two are in their different walls, they wouldn't want to come together to understand. That's always, where the problem, starts. So today I just want to look at some few of those unmet expectations, or how to handle those unmet expectations. You know, first is to identify, both of you, identify. Try to identify your expectations. What am I? Because you remember when we first started this walking together, I mentioned, I said, it's not about just finding someone out there and just grab it and say, this is my husband or this is my wife. No, you first of all need to find out, is establish that that understanding, get to know each other, get to know what her interest, his interest, get to know his background, get to know her background, get to know, what are the likes, the do's and the don't. I mean, because you want to ask a lot of questions, before you get into it. But unfortunately, we just jump into this thing that is called marriage, and before you know, possibly because you are tired of buying food at the restaurants. You're tired of buying, going out, talk with this woman, talk with that woman, or talk with that, lady. And so now, yeah, you just grab her without any taking your time. Whom am I really taking? Whom am I proposing? Whom am I trying to spend the whole of my life? Because if you are not those people that they call themselves hit and run, then definitely you're looking for something that your thought would be living with that person forever, living with that person forever. So, in that case, you want to first of all identify your expectation as well as your partner's expectations, because the truth is, now it is not about you. Like I always say, it's not about me. It's about us. It's about you, the two of you. So if it's about the two of you, then definitely, like I still suggested, that when you are coming to this marriage, you don't want to come, with your baggages. You want to drop your baggages out there, because your baggages might not be the baggage that will be accommodated by the other person. So you want to empty your baggages so that you come with an empty baggage, so that she brings something, you bring something, and put them together. Whatever you're putting in that bag are these things that you would be looking at them together, so that when there's the need for this, you go and pull out whatever you want, and whatever you don't want that you guys brought together, you kind of like, oh, you know what, we need to pull out this out of there. So that's how you pull each other. That's how you together you kind of drag yourself into it, kind of move together. So that's it. Identify your, identify expectation of each. Each of your. Each other. So that's one thing that I would. I know it's not easy, especially in a culture whereby the man feels I'm the head, so he decides. He decides what happened. He decides, where to go. He decides what to buy. He decides, what the woman should say. He decide what should be eating in the house. He decide how much to be spent in the house. He decide when, to go to bed. He decide everything is about because I'm the head. When it comes to such situations, definitely. And the wife, if it's a wife that, no, I want to come on ground. I want a team, work. I want partnership. I want, unity. I want harmony. So when it's not there, definitely there's always a trouble. And so the next thing is, try to see each other's perspective. Try to see each other's perspective. So that now you kind of seeing each other's perspective is, I would also say that is kind of respecting the other person's opinion, respecting the other person's ideas, respecting other person's of you know point of view. When you respect that person's, it will help you to kind of see deeply as regards to what that person is thinking about, so that you can ask, the right question. You can ask a question that is more now understanding that person, reciprocally. Because if you don't really validate, if you don't validate that person, then that person will not feel accepted for him to, think that yes, you are with him. So as far as he's concerned, he would feel like you don't like anything about him. You don't like anything about him or about her. So that's why, you identify your expectations, then try to see that, each other's perspective is validated, is, affirmed before you kind of uh, try to see how you can say something that the person would be able to understand, your perspective, because you want to understand each other's perspective, so that understanding that would help you to kind of say, okay, yeah, now I know. So what do we do about that? See, that's normally how the question should end. What do we do about that? I feel, I think, I'm suggesting, um, I would propose that, and yeah, let's talk about it. Things like that. So another thing is, be willing to, compromise. Sometimes, like I teach in my peace class, you know, when you are overlooking something, that doesn't mean that you are an idiot or you don't know, or no. Overlooking something at that very particular moment is just trying to say, okay, let's give it a time. So in this case, sometimes if it means you know, suppressing your own opinion, or kind of compromise, when compromise in this respect, it's not kind of seeing yourself as unfit, or rejecting yourself. No, but it is instead, it is kind of trying to say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try to my spouse's, ideas or perspective. I'm going to give it a try. So by giving it a try, now it gives room for that person to know that yes, you respect, his or her own view. So the next time you're going to come up with something, except if that person is narcissistic, if that person is narcissistic in his thinking. Now, such people are difficult, of course. I understand. Sometimes there are exceptions when people are so narcissistic. Everything is about themselves. Everything it has to be them. Then yeah, I know. There always be a room for a deeper kind of a discussion, because some people are so narcissistic. Everything is about them. If it is not them that is doing this, it's a problem. Nobody knows it except them, and so that becomes a problem. But on a normal ground, or in a general note, definitely you would want to kind of sometimes try compromise, in a way, try compromise. And of course, you know um you also need to kind of, in a way, try to know what are your you know what we call, what I would say, a deal breaker, or based on some people's recommendation, a deal breaker, like one of the guys who would say, determine what are the deal breakers, for you, and the things that you can compromise. Just think about where you would really, what would change the whole thing. Think about that. What can change the whole math. So this is something that also you kind of, you don't just want to stay within that perimeters that you feel, no, nothing. No, go beyond that. Think about something that can change the whole math, and bring it in. because that helps you to be more creative. That's why there's always room for creativity, you know. And before you know, you kind of bring up something that your partner will say, "Oh, you know what? You're right," but it wasn't there before. But simply because you decided to let go and get out of that, momentarily of particular being so much, narrow in your thought, but you decided to kind of, say, let me open them, let me go a little bit, farther to some kind of, say, oh, I remember this. How about this? And at least you can really tell, it will become the deal, breaker for you or for the two of you. Of course, there's need for collaboration. There's need for alliance. There's need for teamwork. You always want to give room for collaboration. You collaborate together in things that will make it a win-win. Okay, a win-win for both of you, because sometimes, like I talk about, the narcissistic people, they don't think about win-win. But collaboration, makes a lot of difference. When you collaborate, when you form alliance, you are husband and wife, but yes, you have to think, organization. You got to think about, kind of a ministry thing, kind of, yeah. When you think about that way and think about it that way, some form of kind of team up, uh, teaming up for something, becomes, because, but when you think about yourself, you don't want to think about the other person, then it becomes a serious problem. That's where we struggle kind of meet up together. And of course, um, solution is always should be our focus. Let's not always, you know, live or dwell within the problem, dwell within the disagreement, the differences. You don't want to dwell in there, because this is my I would love, I wish. But of course, if you just dwell within just thinking about your own wishes, your own, wants and needs and whatever, not thinking about, you know, um, um, the solution to what if he didn't really agree to this? What if she didn't agree to this? Because you be solution focused person, be driven by your, by solution, because you want to see how you guys can handle it. It's not like you want to go in there, with that thought. I don't care whatever he thinks. I don't care what she thinks. No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And that's why mostly we always have problem. You know, when the man has his need to be met, you don't. I don't care. When the woman has her own needs to be met, you don't care. It's just like kind of what Paul would say, to the about marriage. That, listen, before you marry, you got to make sure know what what you're really getting yourself into, because for the married people, those who want to, yeah, for the married who are married, where their concerns are, where their attentions. We don't, the family, they want to make sure at least they provide for their family, want to make sure the family is this and that. But to the unmarried, definitely, that his concern, his mindset is relationship with God, spending time with God. So that's why, when you marry, now, of course, don't say that no, there's not going to be problem, there's not going to be disagreement, there's not going to be differences. No, because there are things that you think, there are things that he thinks, she thinks, so those moment of thoughts, and that's why, that's why we're talking about, psychology, because it's about our human understanding. We want to go beyond what we are saying. We want to go deeper into, our thoughts, our feelings. How am I emotionally moved? How am I emotionally stressed? So that's why, What does that? It matters. It matters. So this matters a lot. It matters a lot because to some it doesn't matter, but it matters a lot. Like I said, it is not. That's not God's plan. God's plan is not that we marry and just we marry and separate. We marry and separate. We marry or and get divorced. No, that's not God's plan. God's plan for us is to marry and stay together, to marry and enjoy each other, to marry and get the best out of each other, to marry and cherish each other, to marry and of course, to live happily. That's God's desire for us. That's God's plan for us. But I know, as I talk right now, it's possible some of us that have really divorced their wives or their husbands, they'll be thinking, what happened? And I know some people are regretting, their actions. While it's too late because you already pushed that man out or you pushed that woman out. To get her back, no, it's not possible because you already made the mistake. The mistake is done. So it's not um, because of what you want that she has to be there. So, but you guys have to, come to agreement. Uh, of course, when there's identification of those expectations, and of course trying to try each other's perspective, trying to compromise and try to kind of determine what are the deal breakers, and of course collaboration, forming alliances together, and of course being solution focused. Yeah, of course. Now that's when you then come together to do what? Of course, sometimes probably lack of evaluating, when you don't evaluate what happened yesterday or what is going on, you don't do assessment, you don't do kind of review, you don't look back. So you would just assume that everything is well, all things is going. No, sometimes it's good for you to make a reflection. When you make a reflection, that's there's something that probably could pop up to say, oh, you know what, a break. Let's hold on here. Something is not going right. Something is not right. Let's look at it. Something is not right. Let's look at it. So it's when you try to do that, then you come back and together, because now you are together. Now you kind of now talk to yourselves and say, oh, guess what? I think that wasn't right. Say, oh, she would agree, or he would agree. You're right. No wonder. I can see this day is this. I can see, what's this. So then there's this alliance formed. There's this, collaboration of uniformity, of oneness, of togetherness. To see how then you sit and discuss it. If it means adjusting, you adjust. It means kind of changing, you change. If it means kind of trying to even completely say, you know what, well, since it's here, what do you think? Let's go with it. If it's not going to cause harm, let's go with it. As long as it's not going to cause any harm, let's go with it. But if it's going to cause us stress, no, let's talk about it and let's see how we can and create some changes. So it's not easy, see, marriage is, I don't want to, it's marriage is simple, but it's tough. It's simple but tough. Tough in the sense that because it is not, it is not the same every day. That's the problem. It is not the same every day. Every day has its own, problem to deal with. Every day has its own problem to deal with. So that's why, as you cross the week, you cross the month, you cross the year, So you would want to kind of look back and assess, and so that way we can accommodate our expectations, and work towards accomplishment, work towards achieving our set goals as married, as spouses. You don't want to just be thinking about yourself. Like I said, don't be narcissistic. you know nope. Please think about the other person. Except in a case that you think you want to be the lord over someone's life, then that's where the problem will be. So something that I'm thinking that probably we need to probably talk about also maybe next week. I don't know, because I was asking one of my clients, to kind of give you uh, a heads up, before we come to talk about it. I was asking my client, I said, tell me, what would you think? Or what do you think happens before sex offense, or before someone becomes a sex offender? Because now I try to draw a tree for my client. I draw a tree, and I now draw a line cutting the tree, in the middle on the stem, like separating this, half of the tree up there and half of the tree down there. Because what is down there, especially what is, beneath the ground, is not seen, but only what is really from the middle of the tree and up there to the tree. So the question is, what caused this person to go out to look for something? So just kind of, you know, mm, for your own, go and brainstorm, go on and, just for your thoughts before we come, next week, because there are some things that I'm kind of thinking about. Maybe your thought might be the same with mine. Who knows? Because I don't want to believe labeling people with this particular name, and knowing that it is a phenomena that it is not well defined, and it's not well understood and well handled, that has jeopardized many people's life today. They are there in prison, and when they are out of the prison, they are not relevant in the society. So, but I think there's need for us to go down the line to kind of check what really led to that. What really led to that? Because today, if sex is valid point of one's, I mean, yeah, for a person's life, then we got to know what happened, or what happened if, or what happens if. So, food for thought. Just go ahead and think about it. I won't come. I will think about how we're going to, or what our title, and because I'm really so concerned about that. People who, because of sin is the whole thing, but now there is no forgiveness. I mean, look at this person that was hanged on the cross. At the back of living, going, dying, and Jesus would say, "Today you will be with me in paradise." I mean, guys, I'm going to close with that. Thank you for your time. Um, keep on the good work. Please, if there's need for you to adjust wherever it needs to be adjusted, please do that so that you can enjoy your life. And of course, as we learn through this, medium that replica church create, let's talk about it. Let's come and learn also. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your quality part of your life. I pray that you are learning, or you're understanding, and if you're learning and if you're getting something, please put it to use. That's just it. Put it to use. better those moments in your marriage. Please better it and understand how you're wired, because we are not wired the same. We are wired differently. So don't push yourself forward. I mean, too much into it. Allow some kind of you know weigh yourself together. Put yourself on the scale, or make sure the pendulum, it doesn't go all the way there, but try to balance the pendulum. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye.